As most of you know, I'm Bernie Siegel, the Executive Director of the Genetics Policy Institute and Regenerative Medicine Foundation. Welcome to the 11th Annual Stem Cell Action Awards, the only awards and recognition of this type for people that are leading the way in the life sciences. It's moved well beyond stem cells. Stem cells is an avatar for biotechnology, life sciences, regenerative medicine, all of these impactful advanced therapies that is going to change the way medicine is delivered in the 21st century. First, would you please give a hand to Madeline Tasquin, our wonderful entertainment that you've been hearing during the summit. Madeline, over there. Thank you so much. The Genetics Policy Institute and Regenerative Medicine Foundation have recently merged, but not totally rebranded yet. We're all too busy planning the World Stem Cell Summit. But this merger of two 501c3 nonprofit organizations, we hope will spark tremendous interest in the field of regenerative medicine. Our combined activities, mixing the humanities and science to bring about public awareness, our communications platforms, our public policy platforms, and of course, the wonderful summit that is a combination of the RegMed conference that Dr. Atala started with 5 years ago with the Regenerative Medicine Foundation, and the World Stem Cell Summit that started in 2005 by my organization, Genetics Policy Institute, and also the second year of the RegMed Capital Conference. We hope this unifying conference, this interdisciplinary meeting that brings all the stakeholders together, is serving its purpose. And I hope all of you are enjoying yourself in this first day. Thank you. We've been giving these awards in recognition for 11 years, and there are a number of people in the room that have received this before. And I want to recognize some of them that are in the room and by calling out the names of their organizations and individuals that have received this recognition. And I was thinking of some poetic way to describe these individuals. And actually, I just finished Walter Isaacson's great book, Steve Jobs. It's such an interesting book. And rather than find something from Shakespeare, there was a tone poem, a famous advertisement, but I thought it described many of these people. And you might remember it. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify them, or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius, because the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones that can do so. So the recognition that we're giving tonight describes some of these people, not necessarily misfits, not necessarily crazy people, but people that do change the world. I want to recognize some of the past folks and organizations that we've recognized. Our friend Joe Riggs, the founder of the Student Society for Stem Cell Research, an original member of you can stand up. It's just so brief, but let's hold the applause, okay? So we want to get through the evening. Well, I want you to know Joe was a original member of the Stem Cell Action Network, a group of advocates that met online in 2003, 2002 and 2003. I was blessed to be one, Don Reed and others. Joe started the Student Society of Stem Cell Research with one student himself at the University of South Florida. It's had as many as 30 chapters around the world. He's done this all in his spare time as he got his master's degree in bioinformatics, his PhD in stem cells at Virginia Commonwealth University, and now he's a postdoc at Harvard University. Just an amazing individual. Don Reed, an author now, if it wasn't enough with everything that he's done, also a member of the original Stem Cell Action Network that used to go to each other's houses and sleep on sofas and talk about stem cells and try to unify the world and be a voice for this field to move forward. Don is here. Bob Klein, who, with his tremendous leadership, I'll call him up in a minute, of course, with Prop 71. The Nebraska Coalition, Victoria Kohut and Dr. Krause are here, who have been fighting for stem cell research, fighting for the freedom of scientific research in Nebraska. Dina Ladd with Missouri Cures, a wonderful organization that also has a constitutional amendment protecting research. Marianne Liebert and her organization, a wonderful publisher, Jane Wolfe and others are here for Marianne Liebert. The Japanese Society of Regenerative Medicine, as we've gone international, tremendous, the second largest society in the world related to stem cells and regenerative medicine, second only to the International Society of Stem Cell Research. Paul Knopfler, the blogger, someone that's bringing science to human terms. The New York Stem Cell Foundation and Susan Solomon and her wonderful team that's represented as a co-organizer this year. The Huntington's disease grassroots community with Francis that's here and that wonderful community that inspires us. The Mostyn Foundation that has given so generously to the Genetics Policy Institute and Tim Choate and his organization and foundation. Texans for Stem Cell Research and Doris Reed that's here. Roman Reed, who helped found the Alabama Institute of Medicine. All of these individuals, and if I missed any of you, I'm so sorry, have changed the world, I assure you. And let's give them a round of applause. Also changing the world is the wonderful team of the Genetics Policy Institute and Regenerative Medicine Foundation that have come together to produce this meeting. We are a far-flung group in 4 convenient locations, actually. Palm Beach, Florida, Menlo Park, Washington, D.C., and soon in Winston-Salem. That's pretty good. Jerry Friends is here, our COO, and I want to recognize our board members that are here, Tim Choate, Steve Davis, Connie Harrell, Pete Ludwig, Anthony Atala, all of you that served so long and hard in giving me guidance and hopefully moving to success. But one particular person that I have to call up, and I could talk about Alan Fernandez, and I could say that he is born in Chile, the son of an American diplomat. I could say that he was raised in Europe, and the fact that he went to some of the finest boarding schools in the world in Switzerland and Princeton and thrown out of every one of them, which is close to being true. I could say that I've dealt for 9 years where he drank a quart of Peet's coffee every morning and then starts speaking to me on Skype. But now this man has evolved. He we're no longer look like, we're separated at birth. Alan drinks tea now and is channeling John Lennon. Let me introduce my colleague and associate director, Alan Fernandez. And thank you, Alan. Come on up, just I have to do this. You understand, folks, I will let you eat soon, very soon. I just want you to know that Alan is the most dedicated advocate, truly passionate. He never gives me a day of rest, and is a dear, dear friend. And he is a friend of every person in this room. Alan, thank you. Don't cry.
Hey. Commitment comes to mind. Commitment to advancing the field of medicine. Community comes to mind, that we have to be more of a community. And music comes to mind because we have to play more like a symphony, and we'll be playing like a symphony when we sound like a symphony. If this field were like a symphony, we'd be a little out of tune, but we're all working on it and we're committed to being in tune. I love stem cells, I love humans, and I love giving thought to people that are clearly across the world, that are completely underprivileged, that need our support. So it's not all about the community in this room, but it's a global community. And when I think of the word community, it's not community that's like something out there. Community doesn't exist out there. Patient advocacy doesn't exist out there. Industry doesn't exist out there. It's all within you. Community is within you. And one thing Greg Simon said when he used to be he used to lead patient advocacy at Pfizer, and then he led Faster Cures. And anyway, one quote that he said that got a room standing in New York Stem Cell Foundation event, by the way, and he said, advocacy is a participatory sport. And that's a good way to look at it. And being unsatisfiable is another good way to look at it, in my opinion, because until we can have people not suffering, until we can alleviate human suffering, until if we move like with the idea that no human should suffer, then we take it up a notch in how we coordinate, build community, collaborate as a voice of one, with music and art being blended in. That's my plan. And that's why Maddie's here. And then during the dinner, you'll see a generative art from my friend Claudio, and I think you'll enjoy that. But anyway, there's a blend going on here, a big blend, and I encourage you to be uncomfortable, meet other people, extend your hand, meet people that you haven't met before, and take it down a notch, right? So you all relate better. That's it.
My dear friend Bob Klein, amongst the many accomplishments, started a 501c3 nonprofit organization, Americans for Cures Foundation. I've been proud to be aligned with that organization that worked with me in the United Nations, where we saved stem cell research by a single vote from being closed down by World Treaty. It was an interesting journey. I've known Bob for years, of course, as the main proponent, the individual, the engine of sheer energy that created Prop 71. I consider him the most formidable advocate for our field. And when the history of this field is written, and we realize the state of California's $6 billion investment, it's the greatest engine for stem cell research so far in the history of man and its focused research to advance this field. This was part of the genius of Bob in creating this. The Americans for Cures Foundation is our sponsor of this evening's event, and I want to call up Bob to give a short presentation to you now. Bob?
I love strategic thinkers, so obviously I love Bernie and his global leadership. Thank you, Bernie. Let's give a hand for Bernie because he's thanked everyone else. It's important that all of us together are a force multiplier much greater than any individual institution, any individual state, any individual advocate or scientist. So I'd like to show you California's very quickly before and after institutional ecosystem, its star clusters of half of its institutional groups that are collaborating with 14 countries around the world, states, tremendous organizations like the New York Stem Cell Foundation and the NIH Clinical Hospital, because it's my hope that while these are very rich, robust collaborations, that your organizations, your states, your institutions will in fact enter into those partnerships, leverage your funds, because to the extent we leverage funds, we'll move science to therapies for patients faster, safer, and more effectively. So with that, let me just show you before and after in California and hope that you see the collaborative benefits that are potential there for us to, as a force multiplier, to work together on a global basis for the benefit of patients who are all of our mission. Thank you. Should we see the first slides, please? So this is a slide of the San Diego Consortium, which is It's UC San Diego, it's Sanford Burnham, it's Scripps, it is Salk Institute and La Jolla Institute. And this is the structure in stem cell research before Proposition 71. If you'll go to the next slide, please. So this is after Proposition 71, and those orange spheres on the outside are collaborations with countries, where we're multiplying the benefit of the very best people in those countries, funded by those countries, leveraging off of the research in California on joint applications going through peer review and through our board. In addition, as we walk through, I'll point out institutional collaborations across the country. Can we go to the next slide? So that's UCLA before, and let me see UCLA after, which is the next slide. So at the top of that, you'll see University of Massachusetts, you see Harvard. They are not formal partners, which I hope they would be. The state of Maryland, for example, is a former partner. But in partnering up, where we bring the best of the world together with the institutional framework and infrastructure we built with only $300 million of California's funds, but $1.5 billion at this point of donor and donor institutional money that was matching funds. There is a huge infrastructure that can serve all of your goals, all of your visions of the future of stem cell therapy. And Jonathan, Thomas is sitting down here at the table with me. Jonathan succeeded me as the chairman of the state funding agency, and I wanted to point out that just to the left below the center is a collaboration with Yale, his alma mater. Let's go to the next slide, please. This is Stanford before, and the next slide. And this is Stanford after. And the pinwheel at the top in this particular diagram is our group of spin-off companies that are being developed. So let's not put our limits in thinking that these are star clusters that are relationships and leverage just with nonprofit institutions or public institutions. It also includes, under the California initiative, the ability to fund clinical trials, developmental work for-profit companies as well, who need to be integrated and leverage their resources as they try and drive through phase 1 and phase 2 trials where larger companies, larger biotech entities may move in for further funding. Let's go into the next one. Gladstone before. Next one, Gladstone afterwards. Next slide. This is UCSF before, and the next slide after that, UC San Francisco afterwards. The next slide is UC Davis, and I want to tell you this is a great secret of California, that tremendous talent has always been available through the entire UC system. UC Davis is not known as well globally as some of the other UC systems, and they had a focus just on liver, and this is their departments that are in this slide. Let's go to the next slide. You can see the potential being realized here of tremendous talent. So the point here is that we have huge infrastructure. This is just half of our star clusters in California, and it doesn't include our private sector, except to the extent that they're shown in the diagrams is working within this. And there's a genomics group that notably includes, in addition to UC San Diego and including Stanford University, it includes UC Santa Cruz, which most people don't know is the institution that published the human genome on the web forever in the public sphere and protected that work. So genomics is being integrated in with stem cell research, but we need all of your help, because to get to our goal in a timely manner to avoid unnecessary suffering, unnecessary deaths from chronic disease. It's going to take the maximum optimization of our funds between us. Quoting Robert Frost, we have promises to go and miles to go before we sleep, but together we will go as one and win for patients globally. Thank you.